If you've been on the hunt for a PlayStation 5, whether a second one, a gift for someone else, or especially if you've been shockingly patient for the last 2 years, there's good news. It appears that PS5 should be much easier to find moving forward, likely permanently so. So here's the rub. You may recall that last month, industry insider Tom Henderson reported on his website Insider Gaming that a new model of PlayStation 5 would be launched next year, one that allows for a removable disk drive to be used. Within that report, Henderson notes that his sources state that PS5 production and availability would be ramping up dramatically. Perhaps we didn't understand, though, how dramatically. Henderson has since reported that Sony intends on shipping 30 million PlayStation 5 consoles in fiscal year 2023, which begins in March of 2023 and ends in March of 2024. If true, and it likely is, as Henderson is traditionally ironclad, this would represent a staggering increase in production for the console. Indeed, in nearly 2 years on the market, Sony is millions short of having sold that number to date. Henderson reports that the new PS5 will make up the lion's share of these new consoles, though about 35% of consoles sold next fiscal year are assumed to be of the current two models. The new model will be with the new model with the detachable drive will go into production in spring of 2023 for a fall 2023 launch, at which point it will become the only model. What Sony intends on doing with price remains to be seen, though it's safe to assume they are trying to get the base model down to its cheapest possible price with an optional disk drive for the decreasing minority of players who use physical games. Thus, everyone theoretically wins. Such news has been buttressed by a series of tweets from industry analyst David Gibson, who notes that PlayStation's gross shipping tonnage year over year is up 400%. While some of this could account for software, the vast majority of it is hardware related, meaning Sony is already flooding the market with consoles. Sony hasn't reported figures for PS5 since July, when it stood at just short of 22 million sold. If Sony sells 30 million units in a fiscal year, it'll be the most units of a single console sold in 1 year in history. Especially insane considering it'll be the third year on the market. 30 million consoles is more hardware than GameCube and the original Xbox sold in their respective lifetimes. So basically, Sony intends to manufacture and sell, at least ship, more PS5s between March of 2023 and March of 2024 than Nintendo sold GameCubes or Microsoft sold Xboxes, both by millions, by the way. Now, I must note, I got to eat it. I said in a flippant manner that there is no way I believed that number that was actually circulating a little bit last week. People were pulling out this 30 million number. The reason I didn't report it is because I couldn't find the provenance. People were pointing to this old Tom Henderson article, but it wasn't in that old Tom Henderson article. However, that number is in the new Tom Henderson article. And I think this represents an extraordinary amount of units. Is there really that much demand for this thing? I guess so. We're going to find out. Dustin, what's you have a kind of a decent feel, anecdotally at least, of what's going on with availability. What are you seeing with PS5s recently?
Just, I think in the past week, so PlayStation right now, pretty much one of the only ways to get a PlayStation is from their PlayStation Direct. And they do this thing where they'll open up a queue where you can get in line and then get a chance to buy a PlayStation 5. In the past, these have lasted for anywhere from a few minutes to, if you're lucky, an hour, few hours. And we've seen that time creep up and up and up to the point where I believe PlayStation 5 was available from PlayStation Direct for at least 24 hours, maybe more. I can't remember exactly. I remember seeing people saying like, hey, it's been available for quite a bit now. And so I think what's important to remember thinking about selling these numbers is that PlayStation 5 really has never had a chance to hit brick and mortar. Really ever in any kind of actual capacity. It has only been available online and very, very rarely in stores. I personally have never seen one in a store. I know some people have here and there, but it really has never had a chance to even reach that kind of market. The type of people that are only going to buy, especially something that expensive, in person. I think that there's a lot of people out there that they just simply don't want to spend that much online, or maybe they don't. I don't mean this from like they're stupid type of way, but they're just not involved in gaming like we are, and so they just assume that the PS5 is not available in any capacity. They don't know about PlayStation Direct, or they don't have the time or whatever to look into that. So I think that it's totally possible that they're going to sell a ton of these, dude. Especially they just announced, I think I saw earlier today, there's a God of War bundle hitting the shelves or whatever. I mean, maybe the shelves at least online. That's like that's an easy Christmas present right there. God of War with a PS5. So, and it will be really interesting too when we learn more about this detachable disk drive console, how that's going to affect things as well. But yeah, I'm curious how soon you'll be able to see PlayStation 5 on shelves. This, like, in the next month or two as people start getting Christmas shopping. I don't know. Hard to say.
Yeah, it's I thought I was muted still. Yeah, it's a good point that I think you just have to kind of be where people are. That's probably worth millions and millions of consoles by itself. And people are not going to go search them out. I think there's that. I bring it up all the time. I'm sorry, but that kind of Wii centric. You see it and you buy it. You don't even know why. You figure someone needs one. I think that was worth millions of Wiis back in the day. I did that, even though I had one. I just bought the first one I saw in the store. And I was just like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, holy shit. You know when you see something in the store and you can't even stop yourself from picking it up? Like you see a toy when you're a kid and you feel like the ownership over it suddenly, even though no one's around, no one gives a shit at that current time. I remember doing that with the Wii, being like, oh my God. It's amazing that it was just on the shelf. It wasn't at the time. I guess it was just 2007 behind any glass. It was just on the shelf. So Chris, let me put it to you this way via a question from Peter Long, who wrote in on Patreon. He says, hey, CDC. Sony is ramping up its production of the PS5 next fiscal quarter, putting them 400% up year over year, much higher than at any point in the PS4 life cycle. Could this be a sign that PlayStation is about to make major moves next year after being dormant for the last two? And where is that damn rumored state of play? Take care, guys, and keep up the great work. There is something to read into here. Yeah. It seems like Sony intends on having more. I mean, this is insane. But basically, they intend on doubling the units on the market in under a year from now. And so that means that they're going to have more to say.
Yeah, it's bullish. I mean, like we talked about a little bit earlier and on previous episodes, God of War kind of indicates the end of this truncated, kind of elongated launch window for the PS5. So it stands to reason once this game is out, leading into the next year, the next few years, they're going to start ramping up in ways that maybe we don't expect. I feel like a lot of that is going to be, software and live service and all that stuff. But it stands to reason that we are going to have another mid-generation power-up console at some point. It stands to reason that maybe this is kind of like even a quarter, like maybe like one of those weird, like 25% of the way through, like hardware refreshes, like a detachable disk drive and all that stuff. I imagine we're going to start seeing a lot more out of Sony now that this launch window, this artificially inflated launch window is seemingly over or about to be over. That number, though, is very, very bullish, especially in the current economy, which I don't imagine will be getting better anytime immediately. Shit's crazy out there, man. So, but at the same time, that we were in a recession around the time the Wii was kind of, blowing up. So, who knows? Maybe this will work. Maybe they can sell those units. I know the demand is high enough. There's people who are paying $1,000 for them from scalpers. Like, surely they'll be able to, and eventually they will sell that amount of consoles anyway. So I don't think there's anything necessarily too insane about pushing for that number, but whether or not they'll sell that many units in that amount of time, I don't know, man. That's a lot. That you better have some real you gotta have some real shit under covers to necessitate that insane boost in demand, even with how high demand is for the PS5 natively. Just
what
by
would
the
that
nature
game
of
be,
its,
you think?
I don't know. That's the thing.
Metal
it's
Gear Solid remake?
I don't even know. I don't even know if Metal Gear Solid has that kind of cachet anymore.
I don't know. I don't know that it does either. Yeah.
Like I mean, it does to me, but like you have to imagine that the majority of people who are really excited about PS5s that don't have them are probably younger people. Like kids, maybe people in high school who don't have a ton of money or disposable income, especially, now with just how expensive everything is, probably likely families that just don't have the fucking money for that shit, who did not grow up with Metal Gear Solid at all. So it's got to be something. I imagine it's probably going to be some live service thing, but then even that's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be different. It feels impossible to predict, especially with PlayStation being historically kind of averse to using IPs for a very long time. We've only really seen that upended lately in the late PS4, PS5 generation, with God of War kind of being reborn again, and obviously Horizon with all these Horizon for Zero Dawn remake, and this VR thing, and this TV show, and Ghost of Tsushima the movie, and just like it's only recently that they started doing this. in any real meaningful way that's noticeably different than years or generations past. I don't know what that game would be, but they've got to have something to drive those sales, because otherwise this is they're not going to hit that number.
Africa 2.
Oh shit!
What did they get? What about the Zoomers?
Wait, hold on a sec. Do either of you guys remember the game Africa?
I remember Africa.
Yeah, it's like Pokemon Snap.
Yeah, I just
Right?
wanted to, that was just an obscure old PlayStation game.
Yeah,
Anyway, I'm sorry,
maybe we'll get. Oh my god!
For the Zoomers, I was like, what if they
Layer
like?
2?
Oh, dude.
Layer,
Well, what-
Factor 5.
You know, like, I'm hearing a lot about like Cocomelon Modern Warfare or something like that. I don't know, something. What are the kids like these days? What do they want? You know, I don't know.
Well, I think first of all, just having your item available is good. It'll bring costs down too, and it seems like they're going to bring their own costs down, and probably raise their margins by separating the disk drive. And I think they're really trying to, in some way, if not kill the physical market on PlayStation, really try to diminish it. I think if they can go back and have done this from the beginning, they would have, and it would have really cratered physical sales, which would be good for them because they make more money when they just sell the game straight up. But I do think, Chris, to your point, the economy is something that needs to be just kind of kept in mind the entire time. We are in a recession. The recession is going to get much deeper. Interest rates are going to go up. I saw inflation is flat this month, which is horrible. I mean, that's horrible news. And so that report just came out this morning. Like I said last week, even though unemployment actually went down, unfortunately, that means that it's not working. And therefore, they're not going to have to raise interest rates even more. And because there has to be unfortunately, a necessary level, I think, of unemployment, at least economically, if you think about it from their whatever philosophies they hold about the economy, that you need a certain level of unemployment to kind of stave off inflation, bring costs down, and then they can bring the interest rates back down. It's just kind of this linear thing. And so I just think that they're running into this problem. But I do think, to the point you made, Chris, video games seem historically to be immune to the ups and downs of the industry. Remember, the .com boom was really bad on the economy as well, and that was when PlayStation 2 came out and all the rest, and everything was fine in games. So people, when they lose their job, when they have limited means, they go to the places where they think they can get the most value. And people might look at a video game console for $400 or $500 as a really good piece of value to save them money long term and all the rest. So who knows how that will all play out. I was also reading, and I don't know if you guys saw this, I should talk to Tom about this when I have him on the show next to talk about tech, is apparently Nvidia and some of these companies are like cutting their expectations for revenue. Chip manufacturers are seeing soft sales and all the rest. So I don't know. We're going to find out in the coming months. I don't think it's going to be good. And I wish everyone the best out there. Stay safe.